Well, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, if you were to ask my parents, who are not here tonight, but maybe they'll watch this recording, my greatest sin over the first 18 years that they raised me, if you were to ask my parents, what's the worst thing I did? They would look past the speeding tickets in high school. They would look past the brief but excruciatingly awkward punk rock stage in middle school. And they would tell you about me as a colicky newborn. Oh, boy. So what does it mean to have a colicky baby? Anybody here raise a colicky baby, by the way? Oh, still traumatized. Sarah, you? Oh, anybody else raise a colicky baby? We got another here. Oh, still recovering from this? Oh, my gosh. All right, so what is a colicky baby? Can you tell us? Scream from 6:30 to 9 p.m. if you're lucky, or they'd be screaming all day at your face, just screaming at you. My parents haven't forgiven me. And so the story so I was a colicky baby, as is now clear. And the story, as it is told often in Miller family lore, is I was born precious and adorable. And I screamed at my parents for the first months of my life. This was at a time before paternity leave. And so my dad went to work, and my mom was stuck with me screaming at her for a very long time. So my dad, now retired, a congregational rabbi, so he goes to his office. He closes his door. People knock see if he's ready for his next appointment. He makes phone calls. Somebody asks if he would like some lunch, right? It's a nice, quiet existence. And then he comes home and the door opens. You hear the scream, the wall of screaming coming at him. He comes on and he gives me a kiss with my cute little punum. And he leans in to give my mom a kiss and she backs away. He says, "How was your day, honey?" And she looks at him with murder in her eyes and says, "You get to go to work." Throws me at him, and that's the last they speak until the very next day. Anybody here a colicky baby? Were any of you colicky babies, by the way? We got one, we got two. Oh, what are you doing to your parents? Right? Come on. So I say this because this week's Torah portion, Parsha Yitro, Moses gets to work. He is on a work trip to end all work trips. Moses goes up Mount Sinai. And up Mount Sinai, Moses receives not just the 10 what? Commandments. He receives the 10 Commandments. All of Jewish wisdom speaks to God face to face. There is thunder, there is lightning, there is glory, there are trumpets. It's majestic, it's amazing, and we are here at the base of the mountain. So what does God tell us to do while Moses is on the work trip? You're not going to believe me, but it's in our Torah. God says to the Israelites that we should wash our clothes. That's it. Moses is up there in this incredible moment of revelation. We've got the greatest man, the greatest mountain, and the greatest moment in all of Jewish history. And we are doing laundry at the foot of Mount Sinai. And I've read this Torah portion 50 times, 100 times. I never noticed. Did you ever notice this? I never noticed this, right? So here's the question that our rabbis ask. Truly, where did we get the water? Where did we get the water to do the laundry at the foot of Mount Sinai? This is an amazing question. You might think this is a nudnicky question. It is not a nudnicky question. It's a really important one, especially when you think geography. So where is Sinai? Sinai is in the desert. Anybody read Dune or seen the movies? You know what I'm talking about? So I'm in the middle of the second movie. I watch it when I'm on my little Peloton. Don't tell me what happens at the end. Right? But there are sand dunes everywhere. There is water nowhere. So you look this way, what do you see? Sand. You look this way, what do you see? Sand. You look behind you all the way through the Nile, what do you see? You look in front of you, what do you see? Mount Sinai, and behind Mount Sinai you see sand, right? There's no water. There's so little water that last week's Torah portion, if you were paying attention, what did we run out of, do you think? Water. We didn't even have water to drink in last week's Torah portion. So how could God be telling us to wash our clothes in this week's Torah portion? Right? Do you follow the question? Where did we get the water? And the answer is so rabbinic. Oh, it's so rabbinic. It's a miracle. Our rabbis say it's a miracle. Here's the miracle, that following us through the desert sand dunes was none other than Miriam's well. Miriam, Moses and Aaron's sister. Miriam, the one who made sure Moses was safe as he was older sister, as he was floating down the Nile as a baby. Miriam, who led our people in victory song in last week's Torah portion. Because of Miriam's righteousness, there was a well that followed us wherever we went through the wilderness. How else could 2 million people, 3 million people go through the Sinai Peninsula for 40 years without any rain falling? It's because of this miraculous well that was right here. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. And I share this miracle with you because you could be thinking, greatest man, greatest mountain, greatest moment. That's the miracle. But in our Torah portion, God is pointing right down to our feet and saying, there's a miracle there too. There's a miracle here too. Don't miss your miracle just because someone else has theirs. I'll say that again. Don't miss your miracle just because someone else has theirs. And I want to talk tonight not about the miracle of doing laundry in the wilderness, though that's probably going to be the title of this sermon when we post it online. But this is the Torah portion, Parashat Yitro, where Moses receives the 10 what? Commandments. It happens here in this week's Torah portion. And our rabbis point out that one of the commandments is not like the other. The first 9 commandments, I'm not going to do them in order, but no idolatry, observing Shabbat, honoring your parents, no theft, adultery, false witness, murder, none of these things, right? These are things that you should or should not do. Those are the first 9 commandments. What's the last commandment? Anybody know? Lo tachmod. No, don't, what's the word? Don't covet. Don't covet. So our rabbis point out that the first 9 commandments are to-do commandments. The 10th one is a feeling commandment. And they take this one step further. They say, of all of the commandments, this last one, don't covet, this is the hardest one. This is the hardest one. Not only is this the hardest one, but this is like the gateway commandment to breaking all of the other ones. If you look at people who break any of these 10 commandments or beyond, it always starts, our rabbis teach, with violating the commandment, do not covet. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's great. I will stop coveting when I get a raise, right? I will stop coveting. I don't know what your thing is, right? When the car I've been looking at online for the past however many months is now in my driveway, then I'll stop coveting. I'll stop coveting once I recover from whatever injury I am recovering from. You get the idea. I'll stop coveting once I have. Here's my promise. There is no amount of having that will prevent you from coveting. And if you don't believe me, look at the people who covet most in our biblical tradition. And I'm not the one coming up with this. Our rabbis point this out. I'm drawing on rabbinic tradition. If you want to look at what coveting can do to someone, how coveting can upend someone's life, don't look at us. I mean, look at us. Look at King Saul, first king of Israel, coveted David's popularity and fame. And as a result, his kingdom fell. Doesn't stop with Saul. You want to look at what coveting can do to unravel someone's life? That was a slip. Look at King David, who coveted someone else's wife. If you want to know how coveting can unravel your life, look at King Solomon, who had everything and yet could not pass a province or a princess without saying, I'd like that too. If you want to know what coveting can do and how coveting can disintegrate all of the goodness in your life, don't look at us. Look at the people who have everything. Because coveting is not a state of having or not having. Coveting is seeing another person's miracles brighter than your own. So I want to tell you a story that I actually first heard in summer camp, so maybe you've heard it too. It's a story that runs deep in our rabbinic tradition, in our Hasidic tradition, in fact. I love this story. It's a story about a young Jew named Isaac. And Isaac lives in a poor little village in the city of Krakow. And he has a dream one night. Isaac dreams that under a bridge in Vienna, the very first post in the bridge, underneath that post is a treasure. And he can see the treasure, and he can see the post, and he can see the bridge, and he can see the guard tower, and he can see the cityscape behind and the people going back and forth. It is like he was there. And he wakes up and says, that was a vivid dream. Goes to sleep the next night, has the same dream. There's the treasure, there's the base of the bridge, there's the guard tower, there are the people walking back and forth, and the cityscape clear as day. Goes to sleep the next night, same dream. The next night, same dream. For 2 weeks in a row, he has the exact same dream every night. He wakes up, he says, what am I going to do? He packs up his things, and he goes all the way to Vienna. And he gets there, and there's the bridge, and there's the base, and there's the treasure, and there's the cityscape, and there's the people, and there's the guard tower. And he's wondering, what is this poor Jew going to do about these guards? And so he's scoping the bridge day and night, trying to figure out how he can dig underneath the bridge. And then one of the guards notices. Big, burly guard comes charging up to Isaac with his big, burly belly and his beard, and he says, hey, what are you doing here? And Isaac loses his calm, and he says, oh, fine, I'll tell him. He said, you're not going to believe me, but I had a dream. I had a dream that right here, under this bridge, is a buried treasure, clear as day. I know it's there. And the guard with his big beard and belly laugh says, ha, ha. If I believed every dream I've had, I'd be in the town of Krakow digging under the shack of some poor Jew named Isaac for a treasure buried there. And Isaac realizes in that moment that the treasure's not there, the treasure's underneath his house. And sure enough, he goes back, and that's where it is. And I share this story with you because at some point, the miracles of your life just became your life. At some point, the most miraculous thing in the world, the person you're sitting next to, the congregation that you're a part of, your job, your health, your knees that work, at some point, it just becomes your life. And so how do you make sure that your miracles can become miracles again? And every once in a while, I don't know what your belief in God is, every once in a while, God might hand you a miracle. You might pray for a miracle, and then there it is. God's handing it to you. But sometimes God doesn't hand you a miracle. God points at a miracle. Sometimes God doesn't hand you the miracle. God points at a miracle that is already there. So on this Shabbat, I want you to know that the greatest man, greatest moment, greatest mountain in human history, yeah, there's a miracle up there. But God's pointing down here at your miracle tonight. And I pray that when you look where God is pointing, you might just see that there have been miracles here all along. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos, everyone.